Okay, so today we are diving deep into, well, one of the most powerful, really enduring spiritual principles from ancient esoteric traditions. It's this idea that promises a kind of shortcut, almost, to understanding how everything connects. We're digging into the archives, specifically from the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood. We'll touch on who they are, and looking at their analysis of as above, so below. We're really zeroing in on this because it suggests life isn't just chaos. It suggests it's structured, a self-replicating system.
Right. And the mission here, for you listening, is to really get beyond just the phrase itself. It's not just philosophy. It's presented as, like, the actual architecture of the cosmos. The claim is that every single level of existence, from the vast divine scale, the macrocosm, right down to the tiny details of your own life, the microcosm, they're built from the same blueprint. It's like the original fractal, really.
And what struck me in the source material is they didn't just leave it at stars and atoms. They mapped this principle onto our most intimate human experiences. So we're going to unpack how the spiritual law shows up in close relationships, mother and child, husband and wife, and how understanding that dynamic, that external pattern, is maybe the key to unlocking your own inner spiritual path. Okay, let's get into this principle of universal analogy, this mirror idea. So at its core, as above, so below basically says the cosmos isn't just physical stuff. There's this profound integrated truth behind it all. And the argument is, well, it's simple but kind of radical. Everything we experience here on Earth is just a reflection, maybe a perfect mirror, of some higher unseen spiritual pattern, like we're living inside a giant hall of mirrors.
Mm-hmm. And what's really key there is the responsibility it places on us. There's this quote from Grandmaster WaXhira, who's a big voice in the Brotherhood. He says, "The entire universe is a series of mirrors reflecting back to us what we believe, think, and feel." Now that takes this big cosmic blueprint idea and suddenly, puts the steering wheel in our hands.
Yeah, if the mirror is showing us, say, conflict or struggle,
then the instruction is look inward. Don't try to polish the mirror. Look at what's being reflected from you.
That's a huge implication, isn't it? Because if reality is constantly replicating itself, copying these same divine laws in different shapes and sizes.
Exactly. It changes how we approach learning, right?
Right.
If the universe has this consistent, analogous structure, it means really, truly understanding one thing deeply, like grasping the essence of, say, a cell's relationship to its body, or understanding unconditional love in just one context. That's like getting the key to understanding the structure of everything.
Because the template just repeats.
It repeats everywhere, endlessly, like a universal hologram, if you like.
Okay, so to bring this down from the clouds, the source material gives us some really practical, emotional examples. Let's start with maybe the most basic mirroring relationship, the mother and child bond. Yeah, the Brotherhood details this as a kind of perfect first example of the mirror. You look at the pattern. The mother provides nurture, protection, guidance. She's that first source of unconditional love, of provision. And that pattern, that specific dynamic of giving and receiving, that's what gets mirrored elsewhere in life, right?
Precisely. The source points out how this template of provision scales up. The mother provides for the child. Then, in their examples, the husband provides for and protects the wife. And then, at the highest level, the divine provides for and protects humanity. It's presented as the same fundamental law: love, protection, provision, just expressed through different roles, bigger scales. The dynamic itself is the core thing. And this gets even, deeper when they analyze the husband and wife relationship. That's described as this balance, giving and receiving, mutual support, a sacred union. And crucially, this human partnership is shown as the earthly echo, the mirror of the relationship between God and humanity.
Okay, I have to jump in here because for a modern listener, that framing husband provides, wife is devoted, that can sound pretty patriarchal, maybe even limiting. Do these old sources offer any room for like a more modern view of partnership? Or is that hierarchy kind of essential for the mirror to work in their view?
That's a really important point. And it's where we need to sort of separate the symbolic structure they're highlighting from maybe the cultural lens of the time it was written. What the sources seem to emphasize isn't rigid gender roles necessarily, but the flow of energy and the idea of a covenant, a sacred promise. So in that context, the husband's role isn't about dominance. It's about mirroring God's unwavering covenant with humanity, that unconditional love, protection, guidance.
Okay, so it's the function being mirrored.
Exactly. And correspondingly, the wife's response, respect, devotion, partnership that mirrors humanity's side of the covenant: faith, worship, service to the divine. The pattern is about this sacred, balanced exchange, unconditional provision met with absolute acceptance and faith. Whether those roles are tied to gender or just the dynamic needed in that specific relationship, the principle holds. They're analogous expressions of that fundamental defined relationship.
Right, so the takeaway is really about observing the underlying structure, that universal template, not getting hung up on the specific actors playing the roles in any given era.
Yeah.
And that copy-paste idea, then it goes way beyond just human relationships.
Oh, absolutely. The sources are clear. This divine blueprint is everywhere. Think about the cycles in nature, the seasons repeating. Think about planets moving in predictable orbits. Even the rise and fall of civilizations, they argue, follows these patterns. And of course, the journey of your own individual soul. All of it reflects this eternal repetition of divine, ordered templates.
Which leads us right into the idea of spiritual awakening, doesn't it? Once you start spotting the external template, the copy-paste in relationships, in nature, the journey shifts inward. It becomes about recognizing that your physical experiences are constantly mirroring these deeper spiritual truths. It's like learning to read the reflections in the mirror of your life and asking, okay, why does this pattern keep showing up for me?
Yes. And to help people make that leap, to connect the outer pattern to the inner reality, the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood apparently developed this quite profound system of initiation, structured through different degrees. This is like the practical toolkit for self-mastery.
Okay, let's spend a bit of time on these. They sound like sophisticated tools for mapping your inner world.
They really are presented that way. The first level is the initiate degree. This basically sets up the foundation of consciousness itself. It focuses on two core symbols, the ocean and the wave. The ocean represents that boundless cosmic source, the universal consciousness, the infinite potential that they say resides within you.
Okay, the deep water within.
Yeah.
And the wave.
The wave is your specific thought, your intention, your action. It's your unique manifestation that rises up temporarily from that vast ocean. So the teaching is, the cosmic wisdom is the ocean inside you, and your thoughts and actions, your waves, create ripples out in the world, mirroring that cosmic energy flow.
So if my external world, the reflection, looks turbulent.
It's not the external world you need to fix first. It's the inner ocean that needs calming, that needs intentional focus. You choose the kind of wave you create.
That makes a lot of sense. My experience is just the result of the wave I sent out. Okay, so once I grasp that ocean wave dynamic, how do they teach you to, well, navigate the world that results?
Right. That brings us to the navigator degree. This takes that understanding of consciousness and applies it to dealing with the world of duality, good, bad, light, dark, all that. The tools here are the compass and the anchor. The compass, as you might guess, represents the rational mind. It's your tool for getting your bearings, for orientation.
And the anchor. Grounding, I assume.
Exactly that. The anchor is the focused use of the breath. It's positioned as the ultimate tool for grounding yourself, for stabilizing that inner ocean, especially when the outer waves get choppy. You use these together. They help the student recognize that external chaos or feeling overwhelmed is often just reflecting an internal imbalance.
How does that work in practice? Like, give me a small example. If I'm in conflict with someone, how does breathing help me see it's internal?
Okay, think about getting really angry when someone cuts you off in traffic. The external event itself is minor, right? But the internal reaction, that surge of fury or maybe fear, can be huge.
Yeah, happens all the time.
So before you even engage the compass, the rational mind, to figure out why you're so mad, the instruction is use the anchor. Take those deep, centered breaths, ground the reaction. Stabilize the inner ocean first. That pause, that grounding, allows the compass to then look at the situation more clearly and ask, wait, why did that tiny external thing trigger such a massive internal wave?
Ah, okay. The mirror shows the trigger small, but my reaction was big, revealing something in me.
Precisely. Maybe it reflects an internal feeling of lack of control or impatience or feeling disrespected that was already simmering just below the surface. The tools guide you back to seeing the internal source and regaining self-mastery moment by moment.
That definitely shifts it from just abstract philosophy to something you can actually do.
Okay, so that leads to the highest level they mentioned, the captain degree.
Yes, the captain degree. This is where the student supposedly refines their ability to see the divine template, that perfect pattern in everything. The tools become the blazing star and the sextant. The blazing star symbolizes pure intuition, that direct knowing, that connection to higher consciousness or divine will. And the sextant represents inner vision, the ability to sort of measure, focus, and interpret the insights you get from that intuition.
So it's about seeing clearly.
It's about discernment, really. At this stage, the captain isn't just reacting to the waves anymore, like the initiate learned not to. And they're not just navigating the choppy waters of duality, like the navigator. Instead, they're using the star, that intuition, and the sextant, that inner vision, to actually plot a course based on the deepest universal truths they perceive. They're moving beyond just seeing the reflection.
Towards actively aligning their inner world with the original blueprint. Exactly. Learning to tell the difference between the perfect divine pattern and maybe the distorted reflection they see in the external mirror, and choosing to align with the perfect pattern within.
So the more we master these internal tools, calming the ocean, anchoring with breath, tuning into intuition, the more we start to see those big patterns we talked about, mother-child, husband-wife, godman, as just, well, different frequencies of the same song.
Beautifully put. Yeah, they're recurring expressions of a single unified system. Everything's governed by the same core divine principles, playing out on different scales. And this is where the Brotherhood apparently ties their teachings into other ancient wisdom traditions. They reference the Book of Remembrance, which nails the whole principle down in one line. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm, and the macrocosm reflects the microcosm.
The universe in you and you in the universe.
Perfectly stated. They are reflections of each other.
Wow. Okay, so if that connection is the ultimate reality, then this whole idea of inner reflection, of doing that internal work, it suddenly feels incredibly urgent. And our sources really hammer this home with a quote that's frankly a bit terrifying. It's from the Gospel of Thomas, saying 50, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." I don't know. That sounds like a very stark choice. It ties right back to those degrees, doesn't it? If we don't use the tools, if we don't bring forth that calm ocean, that inner guidance.
Then the external chaos, the reflection of our unaddressed inner state, can overwhelm us. Exactly.
Yes.
It sums up the core message for you, the listener, quite powerfully. Spiritual awakening, in this view, means actively bringing forth the divine truths, the mastery that's already dormant within you. The outside world, your job stress, relationship issues, those stubborn challenges, it's not random noise. It's a precisely tailored expression of your inner reality demanding that you pay attention. The ultimate aim, as the Brotherhood puts it, is to consciously align with that divine fractal flow, to become, in their words, conscious co-creators in the divine design. So really, the synthesis here, the main takeaway from this deep dive, is recognizing that the difficulties you face, the challenges in your physical world, they aren't just random bad luck. They are always mirroring back to you the exact lessons, the specific internal adjustments you need to make right now for your own growth. The mirror doesn't judge, it just reflects. It shows you precisely where the inner work lies.
And that loops us right back to Grandmaster WaXhira's idea. The universe mirrors our beliefs, thoughts, feelings. We explored the initiate degree, the ocean of consciousness within the source of your potential, the source of your reality. So, for you, the listener, here's the final thought we want to leave you with. If life really is this series of repeating templates, these mirrors reflecting the exact state of your inner consciousness, what is the specific pattern showing up again and again in your life right now tell you about the state of that ocean within you? And knowing that, what kind of wave are you choosing to create next?